The day the aliens came started like any other. The sun rose over Washington, D.C., people rushed to work, and William Carter kissed his wife goodbye before driving to the Pentagon. As Deputy Director of Strategic Defense, he expected another day of meetings and paperwork. He never expected it would be humanity's last normal day. The first signs came as radar anomalies. Dozens of objects entering Earth's atmosphere, too fast and too controlled to be meteors. William was called to the Situation Room, where military officers stared at screens showing the objects slowing down over major cities worldwide. "What are we looking at?" William asked, his voice steady despite the knot forming in his stomach. General Frank Miller pointed to the largest screen. "Unknown aircraft over New York, Beijing, Moscow, London, and 20 other major cities. They're not responding to any communication attempts." The room fell silent as the objects stopped moving. They hovered, massive dark shapes against the blue sky, each 1 mile wide. "Get the president on the line," William ordered, "and contact our allies. We need to coordinate." His words were cut short as every electronic device in the room flickered. The lights went out, then came back dimmer than before. The screens showed only static. "EMP," someone said. "They've hit us with an electromagnetic pulse." William tried his phone. Dead. The military's backup systems should have protected against this, but nothing was working. Whatever the aliens used, it was beyond Earth's technology. In Nebraska, Lucy Reeves was at the grocery store when it happened. The lights went out, cars stopped in the street, and people's phones died mid-conversation. Through the store's large front windows, Lucy saw a dark shape blocking the sun. People pointed and screamed. Some ran. Others stood frozen in fear. Lucy wasn't afraid, not yet. As a former Marine, she had trained for crisis situations. She quickly gathered essential supplies: water, canned food, batteries. The cashiers had abandoned their posts, but Lucy left cash anyway. Then she headed to her car. It wouldn't start, of course. Nothing electronic worked. Lucy began the long walk home, her mind racing with plans to protect her family. By the time she reached her neighborhood, they had arrived. The aliens walked on 2 legs but were nothing like humans. They stood 8 feet tall with scaly skin that shifted colors in the sunlight. Each had 4 arms and wore a kind of armor that seemed to flow like liquid. They carried weapons that looked like they were made of glass and light. Lucy hid behind a fence and watched as they methodically moved from house to house. They didn't seem to be killing people, they were collecting them. Families were brought out to the street, scanned with handheld devices, and then directed toward the center of town. She needed to get home to her husband and daughter. Lucy moved through backyards, keeping low and out of sight. When she finally reached her house, she found her husband boarding up windows. "Where's Amy?" she asked. "In the basement." "What's happening, Lucy?" "The TV, phones, internet, everything's down." "We're being invaded," Lucy said simply. "Pack food, water, warm clothes. We need to get to my dad's cabin in the mountains." In San Francisco, Dr. Benjamin Hayes worked late at the veterinary clinic. When the power went out, he assumed it was a regular blackout. Then he saw the ship. It was enormous, covering most of the sky above the city. Smaller craft descended from it, landing in parks and wide streets. Ben watched from the clinic roof as the aliens emerged. Their movements were fluid, almost graceful despite their size. Police officers approached one group. Ben couldn't hear what was said, but he saw the officers raise their hands in surrender when the aliens pointed their weapons. The aliens didn't fire. Instead, one of them spoke, the sound amplified somehow to carry across the city. The language was like nothing Ben had ever heard, clicks and humming tones no human could make. But after a minute of this, the same voice spoke in perfect English. "People of Earth, we are the Zyraxian Collective. Your planet is now under our protection and control. Resist, and you will be subdued. Cooperate, and you will be treated fairly. All humans must report to collection points for processing and assignment. Your new life begins today." Ben didn't believe the protection part for a second. He gathered medical supplies and his dog, a German shepherd named Max, and headed to his brother's house across town. Along the way, he saw people being herded by the aliens. Some walked calmly, others cried or begged. The aliens showed no emotion. At the Pentagon, William and his colleagues tried to organize a response. Without electronics, they were reduced to sending runners with handwritten notes. Reports came in slowly. The aliens had deployed smaller EMPs targeting military bases. Weapon systems were offline worldwide, and communication between countries was nearly impossible. They knew exactly where to hit us, William said grimly. They've been watching us for years. 3 days later, the President of the United States stood on the White House lawn. Behind him stood 3 of the aliens. The President looked defeated, his face gray with exhaustion. His speech was broadcast somehow, perhaps by the aliens' technology, reaching everyone who could hear. My fellow Americans, after consultation with other world leaders and assessment of our military capabilities, I have signed a document of surrender. The Xyraxian Collective now has administrative control of Earth. I urge all citizens to comply with registration requirements. Violence will only lead to more suffering. Lucy and her family heard this from the small radio in her father's cabin. It ran on old vacuum tubes, technology so outdated the aliens' MP hadn't affected it. This isn't over, Lucy said, looking at her husband and 10-year-old daughter. Not by a long shot. In the months that followed, the aliens established their rule. They built processing centers where humans were categorized based on skills and physical capabilities. Many were sent to farms to grow food. Others worked in factories now producing goods for the aliens. Some, like Ben, were assigned to scientific tasks. Because of his veterinary knowledge, he was forced to catalog Earth's animals for the aliens' biological database. William was kept at the Pentagon, now a Xyraxian command center. The aliens recognized his knowledge of Earth's defense systems and used him to help dismantle remaining military installations. Every day he complied outwardly while memorizing alien patterns, weaknesses, anything that might help later. The aliens believed they had won. Humans were primitive, their technology laughable, their military might crushed in days. Earth was just another conquest for the mighty Xyraxian Collective. They never suspected that humanity's real strength remained hidden, waiting for the right moment to strike back. 6 months passed under Xyraxian rule. Earth had changed completely. Alien structures rose from the ruins of major cities. Massive mining operations scarred the landscape as the invaders extracted rare metals. Humans lived under strict control. Their movements tracked, their work assigned. In the Rocky Mountains, Susan Mitchell watched the alien patrol through binoculars. Once a park ranger, she now led 23 survivors who refused to register with the aliens. They lived in caves and abandoned cabins, moving often to avoid detection. They follow the same route every 3 days, Susan said to the man beside her. Always 2 guards, 1 vehicle, Jack Wilson nodded. A former construction worker, he had become Susan's second-in-command. The vehicle carries food supplies to their research station. If we hit it here, he pointed to a narrow pass, we can grab what we need and be gone before backup arrives. Susan lowered her binoculars. Let's do it. 2 days later, they struck. Jack and 4 others blocked the road with fallen trees. When the alien vehicle stopped, Susan and her team attacked from hidden positions. They had few real weapons mostly. Hunting rifles and homemade explosives, but they had surprise on their side. The battle lasted less than 5 minutes. 1 alien died, the other fled into the forest. The humans quickly loaded food containers onto their trucks. Hurry, Susan urged. They'll send ships soon. As they drove away, they heard the sound of alien aircraft. Their victory was small. Tiny disruption in the vast machine of occupation, but it gave them hope. In Chicago, Alan Harper swept the floors of what had once been the Willis Tower, now a Xyraxian command center. Before the invasion, he had taught American history at a high school. Now he pushed a broom and emptied trash, invisible to the aliens who ran the facility. This invisibility was his advantage. The aliens barely noticed humans performing menial tasks. They spoke freely around him, treating him like furniture rather than a person who could understand. Alan couldn't speak their language. but after months of listening, he recognized patterns. He created a notebook of observations, hidden beneath a loose floorboard in his assigned sleeping quarters. Today, the aliens were agitated. Alan pretended to clean near a meeting room where three high-ranking Xeraxians argued. One pulled up a holographic map showing small red dots across North America. Supply disruptions increasing, one alien said in broken English. They often practiced human languages among themselves. Resistance activity growing. Send hunter drones? Another replied, find their bases. Waste of resources, said the third, clearly the leader. These are minor annoyances. The humans have no real weapons. No organization. Alan kept his face blank while his heart raced. Susan's group wasn't alone. Others were fighting back. If these separate resistance groups could somehow connect, coordinate their efforts... In Washington, D.C. Patricia Doyle sat in a small room translating human books into the Xeraxian language. Before the invasion, she had worked as an aide to a congressman. Her quick mind and facility with languages had saved her from labor camps. The aliens found her useful. Patricia had taught herself to understand Xeraxian speech by comparing their translations of books. She knew well. She never revealed this ability, pretending to understand only what they explicitly taught her. Today she translated medical texts. The aliens were particularly interested in human diseases. Patricia noticed they avoided certain labs where bacteria were studied. She made a note of this in her mind. When her shift ended, Patricia returned to her assigned living space, a small apartment she shared with 5 other translators. As they ate their ration packs, they spoke in whispers. Did you hear about Denver? Asked Mia, a former law student. Someone blew up an alien water processing plant. I heard they executed 50 humans in response, said Rick, an older man who had been a librarian. That's their way, Patricia said quietly. Collective punishment. They want us to police each other out of fear. Is fighting back even worth it? Mia asked. They're too powerful. Patricia didn't answer. Instead, she reached under the table and pressed a pattern on Mia's knee. 3 short taps, too long. A signal they had developed. It meant, not safe to talk, we're being monitored. Later that night, Patricia slipped out of the apartment. Breaking. Curfew meant death if she was caught, but she had discovered the patrol patterns. She knew when it was safe to move through the shadows. She made her way to an old record store. The aliens had ignored it. Physical media was primitive to them. In the basement, 5 people waited around a ham radio set. Any contact? Patricia asked. We reached a group in Atlanta, replied Steve, who operated the radio. They have the same idea, using old technology the aliens don't bother monitoring. Did you share what I told you about their reaction to Earth bacteria? Steve nodded. They're going to run tests with different strains. See if any affect the aliens directly? Good, Patricia said. What about the other matter? A woman named Rita spoke up. I worked at the CDC before. I've been studying the aliens who died in the Denver attack. Their environmental suits have a weakness. The joint seals degrade when exposed to common alcohol. This was how the resistance worked, gathering small pieces of information, testing weaknesses, sharing discoveries through old radio networks. It wasn't much against an enemy who had conquered 17 worlds, but it was something. Back in the Pentagon, William Carter had been promoted by his alien masters. They called him a human liaison, but he was really just a tool they used to manage the human workforce. He hated every minute of it, but maintained his cover. William had access to more of the facility now. He had mapped the entire command structure, identified key Xeraxian leaders, and located their central communication hub. Information he couldn't act on yet, but someday. One evening, as he was leaving the building, a janitor bumped into him. The man mumbled an apology, but William felt something slip into his pocket. In the safety of his assigned quarters, he found a folded note. Aurora is active. Avalanche protocol initiated. William stared at the words, his hands shaking. It couldn't be. Aurora was a code name for a program so secret that even as Deputy Director of Strategic Defense, he had only heard rumors. A final contingency plan for an alien invasion. If Aurora was real, if Avalanche Protocol was truly initiated, then everything would change. The aliens believed they had conquered Earth completely. They had no idea what humanity had been hiding. For the first time in 6 months, William Carter smiled. The message about Aurora spread through resistance networks across the country. William Carter arranged to meet Patricia Doyle's group in an abandoned subway tunnel beneath Washington, D.C. It was risky. He was watched closely by the aliens, but he had to confirm if the message was real. William slipped away during a power fluctuation that he had secretly arranged. In the darkness of the tunnel, faces lit only by a few dim lanterns, he met the resistance members. "Is it true?" Patricia asked without introduction. "Is Aurora real?" William nodded slowly. "It was always theoretical to me, a contingency plan, mentioned in classified briefings. I never saw proof it existed." "Then what does this mean?" Steve held up a copy of the note. Before William could answer, they heard footsteps echoing down the tunnel. Everyone tensed, hands moving to hidden weapons. A man appeared at the edge of the light, dressed in ragged clothes like any other survivor. But William noticed his posture straight back, disciplined. "Military, my name is Kyle Dawson," the stranger said. "I'm here to take Mr. Carter to General Russell." William stared at the man. "Samantha Russell? She's alive?" Kyle nodded. "Very much alive, sir, and waiting for you." Patricia stepped forward. "Who is General Russell?" "The head of Project Sentinel," William explained, still processing this development. "She was in charge of our most classified defense initiatives. I thought she died during the initial attack." "That's what everyone was supposed to think," Kyle said. "We need to move now." "I have transport waiting," William turned to Patricia. "Keep your network active. Be ready, if this is what I think it is. Everything is about to change." Kyle led William through a series of tunnels to a hidden entrance. A vehicle waited there, not a car, but a strange craft that looked like a small bus with no windows. "Magnetically shielded," Kyle explained, as they boarded. "Invisible to Xeraxian sensors." The vehicle moved swiftly through abandoned subway tunnels, eventually emerging in the countryside outside the city. They drove through the night, avoiding alien patrols with ease. William had 1,000 questions but kept silent, watching the disciplined crew operate with practiced precision. Near dawn, they approached the Rocky Mountains. The vehicle entered what appeared to be an abandoned mine shaft, but continued deep into the mountain. They stopped in a large cavern that had been converted into a military base. Dozens of similar vehicles were parked there, people in matching gray uniforms moved purposefully around the space. Kyle led William through security checkpoints to a conference room. There, a woman with short gray hair and sharp eyes waited. Despite a year of alien occupation, General Samantha Russell looked perfectly put together in a pressed uniform. "Deputy Director Carter," she said, standing to greet him. "Welcome to Sentinel Base Alpha." "General Russell," William replied, shaking her hand. "I have so many questions." "I imagine you do. Please sit." As they settled at the table, Russell pressed a button. A holographic display appeared, technology that matched or exceeded what William had seen the aliens use. "Project Sentinel was established in 1947, Russell began. "After the Roswell incident, Roswell was real?" William asked, surprised. "Very real. That crash landing gave us our first look at alien technology. World leaders recognized that we might not be alone in the universe and that our visitors might not always be friendly. A secret agreement was made between major powers to create a contingency plan for possible invasion. The hologram showed underground facilities on every continent. We built bases like this one around the world," Russell continued. "Completely self-sufficient, shielded from detection. We reverse-engineered technology from the Roswell craft and other recoveries over the decades. And we trained soldiers and scientists in secret." "How many?" William asked. 50,000 in this facility alone. 500,000 worldwide." William's mouth fell open. "That's impossible. How could this be kept secret?" "Compartmentalization. Each president was briefed about the project but not its full scope. Funding was hidden in black budgets across multiple agencies. Personnel were recruited carefully and lived double lives. The world's best minds contributed without knowing the full picture of what they were creating. And what exactly were they? Creating? Russell smiled. Let me show you. She led William to an elevator that descended deep into the mountain. When the doors opened, he gasped. They stood on a balcony overlooking an enormous cavern. Below them stretched rows of advanced aircraft unlike anything he had seen before. They resembled sleek fighter jets, but with unusual configurations and no visible engines. Nearby, soldiers trained in powered exoskeletons that made them as tall and strong as the Zyraxians. This is our answer to the invasion, Russell said. Advanced weapons, ships, and defensive systems that match or exceed Zyraxian technology. Why didn't you deploy when they first arrived? William demanded, suddenly angry. Do you know how many people have died? We couldn't risk revealing ourselves until we understood their full capabilities, Russell explained calmly. The Zyraxians have conquered 17 worlds before ours. Each time they used different tactics adapted to the defending species. We needed to learn their complete strategic approach, their weaknesses, their command structure. And have you? Yes, thanks. To resistance networks like the one you've been working with. The information gathered by people like Patricia Doyle has been invaluable. William processed this. So what happens now? Now we activate the other bases. We coordinate with resistance groups worldwide, and we launch Operation Thunderstrike. Russell led him back to the conference room where a group of military officers now waited. On the holographic display, a detailed battle plan appeared. In 3 days, we will launch a simultaneous attack on all major Zyraxian command centers. She explained. Our first strike will target their communication network, temporarily cutting off their ships from central control. One of the officers spoke up. Dr. Martinez has developed a device that will disrupt their faster-than-light communications. They won't be able to call for reinforcements. What about their ships? William asked. They have superior numbers. Not as superior as they think, Russell replied. We've been building our fleet for decades, and our ships have certain advantages. Major Rivera, please explain. A man in his 40s stood up. Our vessels use stealth technology that bends light. Around the hull, we can approach undetected. Additionally, we've developed shields that can withstand their plasma weapons. William struggled to take it all in. After a year of helplessness, of watching humanity suffer under alien rule, hope seemed almost painful. We need your help, Mr. Carter, Russell said. You have intimate knowledge of the Pentagon facility and Zyraxian command protocols. Will you join us? William thought of all the humans working under alien control, of Lucy Reeves and her family, hiding in the mountains, of Ben Hayes cataloging Earth's animals for alien databases, of all the small acts of resistance that had kept hope alive. What do you need me to do? He asked. Russell smiled. Help us bring our army out of the shadows. It's time to take back our world. The day of Operation Thunderstrike arrived. Across the world, hidden bases prepared for battle. William Carter stood in the command center of Sentinel Base Alpha, watching as General Russell directed her forces. Large screens showed similar command. Centers and bases beneath the Amazon rainforest, the Australian outback, and the Siberian tundra. All units report ready, said a communications officer. Russell nodded. Begin Phase 1. At exactly noon, resistance members activated devices in major cities worldwide. These devices, distributed secretly over the past week, created a powerful electromagnetic burst. Unlike the aliens' EMP technology, these were designed to target only Zyraxian communication frequencies. In the Pentagon. Now a Zyraxian command center, the aliens suddenly lost contact with their ships and other bases. Their screens went dark. Their communicators fell silent. Phase 1 complete, reported the officer. Zyraxian communications disrupted. Estimated. Window, 30 minutes before they adapt. Launch Phase 2, ordered Russell. Deep within the mountains, massive doors slid open. From underground bases worldwide, humanity's hidden fleet emerged. The ships rose into the sky, their hulls bending light around them. making them nearly invisible. Captain Ryan Winters led a squadron of 20 fighters toward Washington, D.C. He had trained 15 years for this day, flying simulations based on recovered alien technology. Now he would fly against the real thing. Eagle Squadron, maintain stealth approach, Ryan said into his helmet mic. Remember your training? These ships are faster than they look. As they approached the city, they saw 5 Xeraxian patrol ships circling in confusion, unable to contact their base. Weapons free, Ryan ordered. Take them by surprise? The human fighters decloaked and fired simultaneously. Beams of concentrated energy struck 3 alien ships, destroying them instantly. The remaining 2 tried to flee. Don't let them warn the others, Ryan called. His pilots pursued, their ships matching the alien speed. Within minutes, all 5 Xeraxian vessels were destroyed. DC airspace secured, Ryan reported, beginning ground support. Similar scenes played out over cities worldwide. The Xeraxians, caught completely off guard, scrambled to respond. They had never expected humans to possess such advanced technology. On the ground, Phase 3 began. Lucy Reeves was among the resistance fighters who received strange deliveries. 3 days earlier, advanced weapons and armor from Project Sentinel. Now she led a group of 30 people toward a Xeraxian processing center in Denver. Remember the plan, she told them. We free the workers while the Sentinel forces handle the alien guards. As they approached, a human ship appeared overhead. It deployed 20 soldiers in powered exoskeletons that made them as tall and strong as the aliens. These Sentinel troops engaged the Xeraxian guards while Lucy's team broke into the facility. Inside, they found hundreds of humans organized into work groups. When Lucy explained what was happening, many joined their effort, grabbing weapons from fallen aliens. In Chicago, Alan Harper heard the sounds of battle outside the command center. The aliens were panicking, shouting orders, and rushing to defensive positions. Alan used the confusion to access a restricted area where human prisoners were held. Among them was Dr. Benjamin Hayes, who had been transferred from San Francisco for his special knowledge of Earth biology. What's happening? Ben asked as Alan unlocked his cell. Humanity's fighting back, Alan replied. And we're winning. In orbit above Earth, the largest battle was taking place. The Xeraxians had 5 major ships stationed around the planet. Against them rose humanity's secret space fleet vessels, built in hidden facilities on the moon over decades. Commander Lisa Rodriguez led this space force. All ships engage according to plan. Target their engines first, weapons second. The human ships were smaller but more maneuverable. They darted around the massive alien vessels, striking key systems with precision. Commander, the Xeraxian flagship is preparing to jump to light speed, reported her tactical officer. They're trying to call reinforcements. Deploy the disruption device, Lisa ordered. From her command ship, a small probe launched toward the center of Earth's orbit. It activated, creating a field of energy that spread outward. The effect was invisible but powerful. It created a temporary distortion in space-time that prevented faster-than-light travel on the Xeraxian flagship, Supreme. Viceroy Zal slammed his forearms against the control panel in frustration. Why can't we jump? He demanded of his science officer. Unknown technology is blocking the wormhole formation, the officer replied. We are trapped in this system. Zal had never experienced defeat. The Xeraxian collective had conquered every world they encountered. Yet now, this primitive species that had surrendered so easily was somehow matching their most advanced technology. Send all available ships to protect the primary command center, Zal ordered. We must maintain control. Back on Earth, Phase 4 of Operation Thunderstrike was beginning. Dr. Nicole Martinez, the lead scientist of Project Sentinel, activated a global network of devices planted near Xeraxian bases. These released a carefully engineered bacteria harmless to humans but highly irritating to Xeraxian respiratory systems across the planet. Alien soldiers began to cough and struggle for breath. Their environmental suits, designed to protect against known biological threats, couldn't filter out this new strain. In the Sentinel Command Center, William Carter watched the battles unfold on multiple screens. Cities were being reclaimed one by one. The alien fleet was in disarray. For the first time in a year, he felt real hope. "General Russell," he said, "the Xeraxians are falling back to their primary command center." Russell nodded, as expected. "They're hierarchical. They'll protect their leadership at all costs." She turned to her communications officer. "Contact all forces. Prepare for Phase 5, the officer frowned. "Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission from the Xeraxian command ship. They're requesting to speak with Earth's leaders." Russell and William exchanged surprised looks. "Put it through," Russell ordered. On the main screen appeared the face of Supreme Viceroy Zal. His scaled skin had paled to a sickly green, and his breathing seemed labored from the bacteria. "Who speaks for Earth?" Zal demanded. Russell stepped forward. "I am General Samantha Russell of Earth's Defense Forces." "Your species has concealed its true capabilities," Zal said, anger evident in his voice. "This deception violates galactic protocols. We concealed nothing," Russell replied calmly. "You assumed we were primitive because we appeared so. That was your mistake. We offer terms," Zal said after a pause. "Cease your attack, and we will withdraw from your planet." Russell's expression remained neutral. "Unconditional surrender is the only term we accept. Your forces will lay down their weapons and remain in place until they can be transported off-world." Zal's eyes narrowed. "And if we refuse?" "Then Phase 5 of our operation begins in 30 minutes. I suggest you examine the capabilities we've demonstrated so far and consider what else we might have kept hidden." The screen went dark as Zal cut the transmission. William looked at Russell. "Is there really a Phase 5? Russell smiled. "There's always a contingency plan, Mr. Carter." She turned to her officers. "Prepare all forces for the final assault. If they don't surrender in 30 minutes, we take their command center by force." Across Earth, humans looked up at the sky where battles continued to rage. After a year of occupation and hopelessness, they watched as their hidden defenders fought to reclaim their world. 28 minutes after General Russell's ultimatum, the Xeraxians still had not surrendered. In the Sentinel Command Center, officers prepared for the final phase of the operation. This would be the most dangerous part of direct assault. On the primary alien command center built over the ruins of London. 2 minutes to deadline," announced the communications officer. No response from the Xeraxians. Russell looked at William. "They're too proud to surrender. We'll have to take the command center by force." Suddenly, the main screen lit up. Supreme Viceroy Zal appeared again, his scaled face now ashen. "We will discuss terms," he said, each word seeming to cost him effort. Russell stood straight. "As I said, unconditional surrender is our only offer. Your forces will disarm immediately and remain in their current positions." Zal's four hands clenched into fists. "And what guarantee do we have that you won't slaughter our troops once they are defenseless?" "We are not like you," Russell replied. "We don't execute prisoners. Your soldiers will be treated according to galactic protocols for prisoners of war, the same protocols you ignored when you invaded our world." After a long pause, Zal spoke. "I will surrender myself and the command staff, but I cannot order all forces to disarm. Many will continue fighting. Then we will continue Operation Thunderstrike until all Xeraxian forces are neutralized," Russell said firmly. "But your surrender will save many lives, both human and Xeraxian." "Very well," Zal said finally. "I will transmit the surrender. Codes for the London Command Center." When the transmission ended, William turned to Russell. "Can we trust him?" "No," she replied. "Prepare the assault team. We go in expecting resistance." General Eric Matthews led the assault force. A veteran of special operations before joining Project Sentinel, he had trained 15 years for this mission. He stood in the hangar bay, addressing the 100 soldiers in advanced combat suits. "This is what we've prepared for," he told them. "The Xeraxians claim they'll surrender, but stay alert. They've never been defeated before. They may have surprises waiting." The transport ships carried them across the Atlantic toward London. In the lead ship, Eric studied the holographic display of the command center. It was a massive structure like a black pyramid rising from the Thames River where the Houses of Parliament once stood. Primary target is the central control room, Eric explained to his team leaders. Secondary targets are the communication hub and the power core. Team Alpha with me for the control room. Bravo to communications, Charlie to power. As they approached London, they saw signs of battle. Human. Resistance fighters had engaged Xeraxian ground forces throughout the city. Some aliens were surrendering, laying down their weapons as ordered. Others fought desperately. The transport ships landed on the roof of the command center. As the assault team disembarked, Eric activated his combat suit's shields. The powered armor made them nearly 7 feet tall, with enhanced strength and built-in weapon systems. Breach points secure, reported his second-in-command. No resistance yet. Move in, Eric ordered. Stay alert. They entered the building through roof access points. The first 3 levels were empty. The aliens had pulled back deeper into the structure. This made Eric uneasy. They're concentrating their forces, he said, preparing for a last stand. His suspicion proved correct when they reached the 4th level. 30 Xeraxian soldiers waited in defensive positions, their plasma weapons charged. Take cover, Eric shouted as energy bolts streaked toward them. The battle was fierce but brief. The human assault team had better training and equipment. Within minutes, they had cleared the level, taking 3 aliens prisoner and neutralizing the rest. Bravo team, head left for communications, Eric ordered. Charlie, 2 levels down for the power core, Alpha with me. As they fought their way downward, Eric noticed something odd. The Xeraxians were fighting hard, but their tactics seemed disorganized. They weren't the disciplined force that had conquered Earth a year ago. Finally, they reached the central control room. The massive doors were sealed. Breaching charges, Eric ordered. His team placed explosives around the door frame. Everyone took cover. Fire in the hole. The explosion echoed through the building. When the smoke cleared, the doors hung twisted from their hinges. Eric led his team through the opening dot inside the control room. Supreme Viceroy Zal waited with 5 other high-ranking Xeraxians. They were unarmed. You have 1, Zal said simply. Eric kept his weapon raised. On your knees, hands behind your heads, the aliens complied. As Eric's team secured the prisoners, he contacted General Russell. Command center secured. Zal and command staff in custody. Back at Sentinel Base Alpha, a cheer went up. Russell allowed herself a small smile before returning to business. Excellent work, General Matthews. Secure the facility and prepare the prisoners for transport. Around the world, similar scenes played out. With their leadership captured and their communications disrupted, many Xeraxian forces surrendered. Some continued fighting, but without coordination, they were overcome by the combined might of Sentinel forces and resistance fighters. 3 days after Operation Thunderstrike began, the last major alien stronghold fell. Humans reclaimed their world. 1 week later, William Carter stood with General Russell in a conference room at the United Nations building in Geneva. Representatives from every nation on Earth had gathered to discuss the future. The Xeraxians have agreed to withdraw. All forces from Earth, Russell announced. Supreme Viceroy Zal has signed a treaty recognizing Earth as a sovereign world with protected status. Protected status? Asked the representative from Japan. It means we're officially recognized as an advanced civilization with the right to defend our territory, William explained. No other species can legally invade or claim Earth? And what about these Sentinel forces? Asked the representative from Brazil. This secret army that saved us all? Russell stepped forward. Project Sentinel was created to defend Earth from external threats. Now that our existence is known, we propose integrating our forces and technology into a new global defense system, the Earth Defense Force. The discussion continued for hours. Nations argued about control, about access to the advanced technology, about the new reality of being part of a larger galactic community. In the end, they reached agreement. The Earth Defense Force would be established with bases around the world. The technology developed by Project Sentinel would be shared for both military and civilian use, and humanity would begin preparing for its place among the stars. 6 months. After the aliens were defeated, Lucy Reeves stood in her backyard in Nebraska. Her house had been rebuilt, her family was safe, and life was returning to normal, or a new normal. Her daughter played nearby with a toy spacecraft, not a fantasy toy anymore, but a miniature version of the real ships that now protected Earth. Lucy looked up at the evening sky where the first stars were appearing. Somewhere out there, the Xeraxians were telling other species about the defeat they had suffered at human hands, about the planet that had seemed so easy to conquer until it revealed its true strength. She smiled. Humanity had faced its greatest test and survived. They had lost much, suffered greatly, but emerged stronger. And now they were ready for whatever the universe might bring next.